All right, Ms. Verdugo-Peralta's in the house.
Thank you so much. I apologize.
No problem at all, no problem at all. All right, it's 9:45 and I would like to call today's hearings to order. We're gonna take, the first hearing will be South Coast AQMD versus Gold Mine Metal Recycling, case number 6. All right, it's 9:46 a.m. and I'd like to call today's hearings to order. Shall take the first hearing, and that will be South Coast AQMD versus Gold Mine Metal Recycling, case number 6273-1. There are a host of exhibits. Okay, and so let us mark these exhibits. So the petitioner's exhibit, the petitioner South Coast Air Quality Management District. Petitioner's exhibit 1, proposed findings and decisions. 2, track out photos. 3, older stockpile photo. 4, more recent stockpile photos. 5, fugitive dust photos. 6, area map. I want to make sure are we good with that, Ms. Roberts?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay. On the gold mine side, do you have any exhibits?
I do not.
Okay. And just for the record, who's representing the district?
Kathleen Mitchell on behalf of the executive officer, along with Ms. Catherine Roberts.
So you're first chair, Ms. Mitchell? All right.
Yes, Chair.
And who's representing Gold Mine?
Anna Jacobo. I'm the owner.
Okay, J-O.
Jacobo.
Jacobo. Okay. All right. Madam Clerk, do we have any individuals who've sought recognition to provide evidentiary testimony or general public comment? Okay, let the record reflect that there are no individuals who sought to provide any testimony or general public comment. How many witnesses do we have today on either side?
Just one for the district.
One for the district, and Ms. Jacobo, you have any witnesses?
No.
Okay, so why don't we have the petitioner's witness to stand for the oath. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you very kindly, my friend. Take your seat. All right, and so we would allow for opening arguments. Ms. Mitchell, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This matter concerns respondent Goldmine Metal Recycling's ongoing violations of South Coast AQMD Rule 403, which governs fugitive dust emissions. Specifically, the respondent is in violation of 3 provisions: 403D1A, 403D2, and 403D4. Since 2023, South Coast AQMD has issued multiple notices of violation, documenting persistent noncompliance with Rule 403, as determined through inspections initiated by public complaints. The respondent has repeatedly failed to take the necessary corrective actions, despite detailed discussions with inspectors and outreach from district staff. Since voluntary efforts have not resolved the violations, an order for abatement is being sought to ensure compliance. We have tentatively agreed on the proposed conditions with the respondent for a stipulated order for abatement and are open to continuing to pursue that path. However, the district is prepared to proceed with a contested hearing if necessary. Accordingly, the district requests that the board issue an order for abatement, requiring respondent to cease violating Rule 403 by complying with enforceable conditions as the board deems appropriate. Thank you.
Ms. Jacobo.
Yes.
The floor is yours for your opening statements, opening arguments.
In response to what she just stated, correct?
Well, this is your opportunity to pretty much open the case and provide statements or facts that you would want to bring to bear in this matter. It just kind of allows you to give like a summary of what you're going to discuss today.
Okay. I have been on that property for 14 years, and I have been doing this business for 7 years. And, you know, she stated that this started in 2023. And so, where the property is located, I think you mentioned there's a map. There's one community entrance and there's one community exit. And there are about 15 businesses there. And so that area is zoned for the type of work we do. It's going to cause a lot of dust and it's going to cause dirt. And so in the last couple of years, as I have mentioned to Ms. Roberts, groups, I'm just going to say it this way, of Middle Eastern guys are renting the warehouses that have become available after COVID, and they do body shop type work, and they bring loads and loads of cars, and they block the driveways, and they make it for a situation where they're agitating, fighting with my employees, with myself, and so they've become very angry, and they started reporting us to you. One of them, you know, said, I'm gonna call every single day because this was not happening before. And Alex, the gentleman from AQMD that goes out there, he says they're calling me every day. And so we said to them, you know, we're doing the best we can to keep our trucks out of the way, to just get along with everybody because we've been here a long time. You know, we're a small family business. That's our livelihood. And we're doing the best we can to keep it clean as much as we can keep it clean because it is zoned for dirt and for concrete. You know, and I had a long talk yesterday with Ms. Roberts and I explained to her, you know, all the things that they do, but I don't want to make enemies with them and report them. So I just want to say that because of the fact that I have been there so long, and this started when they came there, you know, and bullying us and snatching our phones and constantly videotaping us. And we're honestly just minding our own business, doing the best we can to keep it clean. Yes, there's dust. Yes, there's dirt. And so do all the other businesses there are. It's a cabinet business. It's 5 different body shops. It's 3 different marble shops. And so because years ago there was one entrance and you went around and went out the opposite way. But now because someone closed the other entrance next to their property, everybody comes in and out through one way, which causes for a lot of traffic, which causes for more less space to clean up, you know, and that's what I want to say at this point.
So, Ms. Jacobo, just a quick question. Are you in receipt of the documents, all the exhibits and the proposed findings and decision documents? The exhibits?
Decisions, which documents?
Yeah,
The last
it's called proposed findings and decisions. And the document was drafted by the district. It looks very legal.
like a pleading.
Yeah, it has all the numbers on the left corner and what have you. Do you have that document?
Yes, I have it right here.
And have you reviewed that document?
Yes, and I reviewed it with Ms. Roberts yesterday on the phone.
Right. So would you like to, just want to make sure we're clear here. So this is what they're proposing. And so the case today, they have a witness. They're going to go through an entire hearing. He's going to testify. We're going to look at the photos, and then we're going to render a decision. I want to make certain that you're very clear here. We're going to be discussing these various documents as presented. There's 6 exhibits. Okay, so I want to be very clear and very transparent with you. So irrespective of any of the other points of interest vis-a-vis the men and the taking of phones and what have you, none of that's a part of the hearing today. You could bring it in, of course, as discussion, testimony, what have you. But the point is that we want to really deal predicated upon the order of abatement as as presented to the hearing board by the petitioners, and the petitioners happens to represent the district, they're the district's lawyers. Okay?
Okay, well, yesterday when I talked to Ms. Roberts, I told her after going over all of this with her, I didn't feel prepared to speak for myself. I'm just recovering from a very serious bout of laryngitis. And she said, no, you need to go ahead and do this, and so that's why I'm here today. But no, I don't feel prepared at all. I feel I'm forced to be here. I'm here, I'm speaking for myself and I'm saying, before 2023, it's been 2 years when I've been in business for 7 years. And so, yes, I have the violations because they're constantly being called to come out there. Yes, I know they're always taking pictures. This stuff, I'm aware of all this stuff, but no, I don't feel prepared to discuss this today. And tell me, what do I do?
Okay, so just one last point.
Yes.
So, Madam Clerk, just for the record, this hearing was noticed about 3 weeks ago, correct? Okay, so the petition was filed July 8th, and so we received notification at the top of July that this would be heard today. What day?
Right, and that's when I got sick. And
Okay, Ms. Verdugo Peralta?
I just wanted to try to help Ms. Jacobo, and there's two things that you can do. There is a video that you can take a look at that's about the hearing board and how the process works. That would probably help you be better prepared. You can also contact the small business assistance group within the AQMD, but I think the video would help you more than anything else of
Okay.
how this process works. And I want to add also the noticing was appropriate and should have given you enough time to do that. I just don't think you knew about those two assistants that you could have taken advantage of. Not only that, the rules have nothing to do, as Mr. Ali mentioned, with what is happening with your neighbors. It's totally about the violation of the rule. So concentrate on that. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I just wanted to make, just for the record, I'm specifically asking these questions of the clerk because I want to make sure that we're clear. This hearing was noticed weeks ago. Okay, so there's no surprises here. And so we're going to proceed with the hearing. I'm going to turn the floor over to Ms. Mitchell and you'll present your case.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to call our witness, Alexander Carr. Can you state and spell your name for the record?
My name is Alexander Carr, Alexander CARR.
And did you take the oath this morning?
I did.
What is your position and title with South Coast AQMD?
I'm an Air Quality Inspector 2,
And how long have you been a compliance inspector with South Coast?
August of 2023.
And are you familiar with Rule 403 and its requirements?
Yes. Yes.
And are you trained in inspecting for and identifying violations of Rule 403?
Yes, I am.
Are you familiar with the respondent in this case, Goldmine Metal Recycling?
Yes.
And are you familiar with the requested order for abatement?
Yes.
Great. Can we look at exhibit number 6? Mr. Carr, does this map accurately show the location of where the respondent's facility is located?
Yes, it does.
And can you identify where on this map Goldmine operates?
Yes, I can, where the red marker is.
And can you identify where the driveway to access the facility is located?
It's just north, I guess, east of that drive that goes straight out and then onto the road you can see on the far right.
And to your knowledge, is this driveway shared between multiple operators?
Yes, it is.
Thank you. So just going into the history a bit, how many public complaints in total, if you have a number you can provide us, have been received about this facility?
28.
And how many notices of violation in total were issued to this facility?
There's been 6.
And are all of these violations for the same rule?
Yes, they are.
And which rule was that?
Rule 403, fugitive dust rule.
And are they all for the same provision of Rule 403?
No.
Which are the provisions that it's violated?
There's D1A, which is fugitive dust. There's D2, and there's D4, all 3 of those in different times.
And do you know over what period these NOVs were issued?
October 23 until June of this year, 25.
Thank you. So we'll discuss the first violation, the track out violation, Rule 403D4. Can you describe in your own rules, what does Rule 403D4 prohibit?
D4 prohibits track out it prohibits track out from any active operation from the point of origin in 25 feet or more in cumulative length.
And can you identify when you first observed a violation of Rule 403D4 at the respondent's facility?
Yeah, I believe it was in June of this year.
Okay. Can we look at Exhibit 2? And then can you describe in your own words what these photos are depicting?
Yeah, they're depicting track out all along from their point of origin, from their point of operation. This is the very edge of their operation, all the way out 168 feet out to the drive. And then it continues onto the drive, actually. But this is the shared driveway, and we see a lot of dirt tracks that go straight from their operation to the exit.
And were you the one to take these photos during the inspection?
Yes, it was.
And do you believe these are true and accurate descriptions of what you observed?
Yes, they are.
And did the track out originate from a specific location that you could identify?
Yes, it did. Right from their point of exit of their operation into the street of Vineland.
And what means do you use to determine where track out originates?
I look down at where the edge of their facility is. I see that there's dirt at that edge of the facility. And I follow those tracks all the way straight out into the public.
And again, how far did that track out extend?
This one extended 168 feet.
And what was the tool you used to measure that length?
AQMD issued measuring wheel.
And did the track out reach the public roadway or shared driveway?
It did both. It reached both.
Based on your familiarity with this area, are there other businesses which use this driveway regularly?
Yes.
How were you able to determine that the respondent was the one that was the source of the track out on that driveway?
The dirt track, literally the couple dirt tracks originated right from their exit and and I followed those specifically. There was no drive into those dirt. It was right from its exit to the exit to the exit of the drive.
And at the time, when you were doing the inspection, did you observe any sweeping or removing the track out while you were inspecting the property?
No, I did not.
Can we look at Exhibit 6 from the petition for order of abatement? This is Notice of Violation 79882. Is this the NOV you issued after observing the track out?
Yes, it is.
And what date was this NOV issued?
It was issued on the 25th. Oh, it was served on the 26th. I issued it for the 25th.
And did you discuss Rule 403 and its requirements to someone after?
Yes, I did.
Who did you discuss the requirements with?
I discussed it with a worker named Junior.
And did you provide recommendations for compliance?
Yes, I did.
What strategies did you suggest?
I suggested they use water. They have a water hose they could use. And I suggested he sweep it up with a broom.
Did they appear to understand the requirements and how to implement the mitigation measures to come into compliance?
Yes.
Was this the first time a violation for Rule 403D4 was observed on the property?
No, it wasn't.
So do you know how many NOVs were issued citing a rule violation of D4 prior to your inspections and citations?
I believe 2.
Okay. Can we look at Exhibit 1 from the petition for the order of abatement? This is notice of violation 74034, excuse me. To your knowledge, is this the first NOV that was issued after a violation was observed for Rule 403D4?
Yes.
Did you issue this NOV?
No,
Do you know the inspector who did?
I do.
Can we look at Exhibit 2 from the petition for order of abatement? This is NOV 74035. To your knowledge, is this the other NOV that was issued after a Rule 403D4 violation was observed?
Yes.
And did you issue this NOV?
No, I did not.
Did you know the inspector who did?
Yes, I do.
So did you review the contents of these two NOVs prior to your inspections on the property?
No.
All right. If we can move to the stockpile violation, which is Rule 403D2. Can you describe in your own words, what does Rule 403D2 require?
Yes, a facility, aggregate facility can't have a pile over, or any facility can't have a pile, storage pile over 8 feet unless there is a irrigation added or a road bladed to the top of that pile to allow a water truck access.
For stockpiles or bulk material handling, is there any specific control measures in Table 1 that are specified?
Yes.
Are you aware of what those are?
Yes, you can have, yes.
Okay. Would you mind providing some examples? You have the ability.
Okay. You can add water to stabilize the air, stabilize the pile. Yes, you can reduce it to down below 8 feet. But as it says, you have to have a road bladed to the top or an operational water irrigation system that can cover the whole area.
Thank you. When did you first observe a violation of Rule 403D2 at the respondent's facility?
And I think in October of 23.
Okay. Can we look at Exhibit 3?
Yeah.
Can you explain what's going on in this image, please?
Yeah, so there is their facility on the left part of that image with a pile that's far over that person's head, the worker's head. So I knew it was over 8 feet. Then there's a wall, and then there's an occupied offsite building right next to it, within 10 feet of that pile.
Did you take these photos during an inspection?
I did.
And are these true and accurate depictions of what you just observed?
Yes, they are.
So how tall was the stockpile, do you presume, and how did you measure that?
On this one, I think I said 25 feet because that gentleman there is probably 5'8" or something. And there's a couple of him. So maybe it's 15 feet tall, but it's over 8 feet. So I determined it because of that person standing there.
And do you believe the piles were within 100 yards of any off-site occupied buildings?
Yes.
Looking at Exhibit 3 here, roughly where do you believe the property line to be?
The property line is where that pole is. There's a pole right there in the center of the image, and there's a fence that goes backwards between this facility and that offsite occupied building that the pile is actually leaning on.
So referencing some of the examples you provided earlier, did you observe that the facility had water truck access?
No, it did not.
How about a road bladed to the top?
No, it did not.
Did it have a sprinkler system?
Nope, it did not.
Did you see the trucks being watered before they dumped material on the site?
I did not.
Did you see the trucks being watered as they dumped material?
No,
Were you able to observe trucks dumping material while you were conducting the inspection, though?
I was able to observe that.
Okay. Were any dust control measures in use at that time?
They were not until I walked up to them.
Can we look at Exhibit 3 from the petition for order of abatement? This is Notice of Violation 79861. Is this the NOV you issued after observing the stockpiles at the time?
Yes, it is.
And what date was this NOV issued?
It was issued on the 16th of August in 2024.
Did you observe a violation of Rule 403D2 in a subsequent inspection?
I did.
Were subsequent NOVs issued citing a Rule 403D2 violation?
Yes, they were.
Do you know how many NOVs were issued citing that violation?
I do not.
Okay. Can we look at Exhibit 4 of the petition for order of abatement. This is NOV 79869. Is this an NOV that you issued to the facility for a Rule 403D2 violation?
Yes, it is.
And what date is that?
April 16th, 2025.
Thank you. And then can we go to Exhibit 5 for the petition for order of abatement? This is notice of violation 79877. Did you issue this notice of violation for Rule 403D2 violation?
Yes, I did.
Can we get the date on that as well?
It is June 3rd of this year, 2025.
And then last one, Exhibit 6 from the petition for order of abatement. This is NOV 79882. Is this an NOV that you issued for violation of Rule 403D2?
Yes, it is.
And what was the date of this one?
June 25th, 2025.
Great. Can we move to Exhibit 4? Okay. Can you explain what's going on in this image?
Yeah, there's a new truck that just came in with broken cement that they're dumping onto the pile right next to the fence.
And are these photos from the most recent inspections you conducted on the property?
Yes, they are.
What date were those inspections approximately?
25th of June.
Okay.
All right.
And did you take these photos yourself during those inspections?
Yes, I did.
And are these true and accurate descriptions of what you observed?
Yes.
Can you tell us how tall you believe the stockpiles were approximately?
I thought about 35 feet here.
How did you determine that approximate height?
That truck is actually open up to at least 20 feet, it looks like, and it's even higher than the top of that truck. So I thought it was about 35 feet.
Okay. And to the best of your knowledge, were the piles within 100 yards of any offsite occupied buildings?
Yes, they are.
And were similarly addressing the different on-site measures, did they have water truck access, roads bladed to the top, or a sprinkler system?
No.
Were any dust control measures in use at the time?
Yes.
Which measures were being used?
As I got close, a worker picked up a hose and started spraying as that truck was dumping.
Okay. And did you discuss Rule 403 and its requirements to someone after any or all of these inspections you conducted?
Yes, I did.
Do you know who you discussed the requirements with?
Discussed it with Alex Jacobo.
Was that for all the inspections, do you believe?
No, I actually discussed it with Alex Jacobo, a person named Lucas, a worker at Lucas, and a worker junior. I've discussed this with.
Okay. And did you provide recommendations for compliance to these individuals?
Pardon?
Did you provide recommendations for compliance to these individuals?
Yes, I did.
What strategies did you suggest?
I suggested getting their irrigation system up and running. I suggested using much more water when they're dumping and picking up. And I suggested them using water for the road for the track out as well.
Mm-hmm. Did they appear to understand the requirements and how to implement dust mitigation measures to come into compliance?
Yes.
Was this the first time a violation of Rule 403D2 was observed on site?
No.
How many NOVs were issued citing the Rule 403D2 violation prior to your inspections and citations?
I'm not sure.
Okay, can we look at Exhibit 2 from the petition for order of abatement? This is notice of violation 74035. To your knowledge, is this an NOV that was issued after a Rule 403D2 violation was observed?
Yes.
Were you the one to issue this NOV?
No,
Do you know the inspector who did?
I do.
Did you review the contents of this NOV prior to your inspections of the property?
No.
Moving to the last violation, visible dust emissions, Rule 403D1A. Can you describe in your own words, what does Rule 403D1A prohibit?
It prohibits fugitive dust from leaving an area open operation, active operation, a storage pile, or disturbed ground that dust can't cross property lines.
And do you know when you first observed a violation of 403D1A at the respondent's facility?
Before, it was prior to this NOV, it was a different NOV. I'm not sure the date.
Okay, can we look at Exhibit 3 from the petition for order of abatement? This is notice of violation 79861. Is this the NOV that was issued after that violation was observed?
Yes,
Okay, what's the date of that?
August 14th, 2024.
Okay, and did you issue this NOV?
I did.
Did you observe a violation of Rule 403D1A in a subsequent inspection?
I did, yes.
Were subsequent NOVs issued citing that violation?
Yes, they were.
Do you know about how many NOVs were issued citing it?
No, 2 or 3.
Can we look at Exhibit 4 of the petition for order of abatement? This is notice of violation 79869. Is this the NOV that was issued in response to that violation?
Yes, it is.
What's the date of that?
April 16th, 2025.
And did you issue this
I did.
NOV?
Yes,
Okay, and let's move to Exhibit 6 from the petition for order of abatement. This is NOV 79882. Did you issue this NOV in response to the violation?
yes, I did.
What's the date of that one?
It's June 25th, 2025.
Great. Can we look at Exhibit 5? Yeah, there we go. Can you explain what's going on in this image?
Yes, again, the truck is dumping loose concrete or material, aggregate material into their pile, and dust is clearly up and above and going across the property line towards a occupied offsite building.
And did you take these photos?
I did.
And are these true and accurate depictions of what you observed?
Yes, they are.
And so did you observe visible dust in the air beyond the property line?
I did.
And what was the source of that dust?
The source of the dust was the truck dumping aggregate material into the pile, into their storage pile.
Okay. Did you observe any other potential sources of the dust at that time?
No.
Were there visible impacts on the adjacent properties of the dust?
Yes.
Would you say that the photos being shown now are depictions of that?
Yes, I would.
Have members of the public in the area complained about dust from respondents' operation accumulating on their property?
Yes, they have.
And have you verified these complaints?
Yes.
After citing for this violation, did you discuss Rule 403 and its requirements to someone after any or all of these inspections?
Yes, I did.
Do you know who you discussed those requirements with?
I discussed it, actually, I've discussed a little bit with Anna, and I discussed with Alex Jacobo, and I discussed it with Junior and Lucas, actually.
Okay. Did you provide recommendations for compliance?
Yes.
Do you know what strategies you suggested?
Yes, I suggested getting their irrigation system up and running, using much more water when they unload and load, and taking care of the track out.
Okay. Did they appear to understand the requirements and how to implement dust mitigation measures to come into compliance?
Yes.
Okay. Moving to the order for abatement conditions. Did you review the proposed findings and decisions document submitted as Exhibit 1?
Yes.
Did you review the proposed conditions requested for this order?
Yes.
Do you know what condition 1 requires?
It requires an irrigation system to be operational as they're over their facility
Okay.
coverage.
And in your experience, are these sprinkler systems common for effective dust mitigation?
Yes, they are effective.
Okay. And in your experience, is it possible to install this type of system by the proposed deadline of August 31st, 2025?
No.
How long do you believe it should take? It would take.
I had a client do it in 1 week.
Okay. Is that normal that it only takes about a week?
I don't know.
Okay, thank you. What does condition 2 require?
Yes, it requires them to put water on the while they're loading and unloading of the material into their pile to use adequate water to keep the dust down.
Okay. And in your experience, is this an effective tool to prevent visible dust emissions while vehicles are loading or unloading material?
Yes.
Based on your familiarity with respondents' facility and where materials are unloaded, is this mitigation necessary to reduce visible emissions so they are not visible in the atmosphere beyond the property line?
Yes, they are.
And what does condition 3 require?
It requires them to clean all their track out 3 times a day, and especially at the end of the day.
Okay. And did South Coast AQMD consider other possible methods of controlling track out?
Yes.
What were those potential options?
That you could sweep. In general, do you mean, or with this particular case?
With this particular case, was there something considered other than sweeping?
Water,
Okay.
but that wouldn't really cover it.
Okay, why might not that be a good fit for the
Because the
response?
water has to go
facility?
all the way down their large driveway. I think sweeping would be more effective in this
Okay.
case.
In your experience, is regular sweeping an effective way to prevent track out?
Yes.
What does condition 4 require?
It requires them to keep a log of their track out and their sweeping and to present that log to me on Tuesdays of each month.
Okay. Would this condition,
First Tuesday of the month, sorry.
sorry, go ahead. Would this condition enable enforcement of condition 3?
Yes,
If the facility were to create a single-page logbook to enable easy filling in of the required info, would this be sufficient to satisfy the requirement of the condition?
yes, it would.
Do you have any further questions you'd like to ask? That's everything we have for the witness at this time.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jacobo. So now it's an opportunity for you to cross-examine the witness, meaning you can ask the gentleman any questions you so desire based upon his testimony.
I understand. Alex, have you ever met me?
Not in person.
Okay, so you just talked to me on the phone. Alex, when you come out there to the property with the 28 complaints, do you go straight to talk to my neighbors every time?
No,
Are you sure about that?
I'm positive.
You've never gone straight to, you don't come to my property. You go and you gather with neighbors around you, because I think Junior has videos of this because he sends them to me. By the time I get there, you're not there. Well, that's one. Because part of my comment at the beginning was that this started in 2023, when these guys moved in, that
I'm going to
property.
object and ask if this is a question to the inspector.
Okay, so the answer is no. He doesn't go talk to the neighbors every time he's gone out there to issue these violations.
So, Ms. Jacoby, so just so we're clear, the way this works is that you would ask him questions and allow him an opportunity to answer.
Okay, so the answer is no.
Well, no. We want to ask, you ask him a question, then he answers, and then of course you go on with a series of questions.
Okay, so is it my turn?
Yeah, no, it is your turn.
Okay, when was the last time you were out there, Alex?
June 25th.
June 25th, June, July. Okay, and when you've gone out there and my employees are working, do you scream at them in Spanish, agua, agua, agua?
I say the word agua,
You say the word agua? What does agua mean?
water,
Why would you do it in Spanish?
because the one person doesn't speak English, Junior doesn't speak English with me, and so I say agua, so he knows I'm
So you just-
asking to use water.
Okay, and those 6 violations over the last 3 years, or since 2023, are mainly for dirt on the driveway, correct?
They're for a couple of things. Fugitive
wanna-
dust leaving your property.
Right,
crossing
because-
property lines.
Okay, so it's for dirt on the driveway, and then for the dirt, the dust that goes up.
Yes,
Okay. Okay, that's
and
it.
for the 8-foot piles,
And the April piles. Okay,
or piles over 8 feet.
so those are my only questions for you. I have something else to say, but I guess I'll say that another part of the hearing.
All right, on redirect, any redirect, Ms. Mitchell? Ms. Roberts? Okay, members of the hearing board, any questions? Mr. Pearman?
Sir, in the proposed findings, there's a reference to the inspector discussing violation with the respondent's site operations manager. Is that Junior or someone else that refers to, if you know?
That's Alex, I believe.
So that's someone you met with personally on the site?
Yes, I've met with him a few times.
I want to understand a little bit more clear about the property. So I don't know if Exhibit 6 is available to someone to put up, but that's the kind of area map. And so this property's address is 7129.5 Vineland. Is Vineland on the right side of the drawing there?
Yes, it is with the dirt on it.
And so the Gold Line property where they have the red dot it's all of that kind of mostly dirt-looking area there. That's where the red dot is, says gold mine, metal recycling, kind of
Yes,
above 72, 71, 27 and a half.
that's right. Those are piles. If that was three-dimensional, that would stick out as piles right there.
Okay. And the driveway reference in Exhibit 2 before, is that the path above 7127 heading towards Vineland?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So does the gold mine property have any direct touching of Vineland or only through that driveway?
Only through that driveway. You
Okay.
can see where they pulled out on the drive, actually.
Okay. Now, proposed order number 1 talks about installing a fully operational irrigation system capable of watering all areas of the facility where active operations occur. So is that sufficiently defined as to where active operations occur? Do you see that there's irrigation at the whole site or exactly just so they understand, where should this irrigation be in your opinion?
In my opinion, the irrigation system should be on the perimeter of the fence line for them. And that would apply misting or water for their whole facility and would keep the pile stabilized.
But the watering, it's not just to cover the stockpiles though.
No.
Okay. All right. No further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Pellico-Pilon.
Morning, Mr. Carr. Can you explain what is the operation? What material they're bringing in, and are they processing the material? What exactly occurs?
To my best knowledge, they're bringing in material, broken aggregate material, cement blocks, things like that. They're storing it, and then they're taking it from that storage, and they're not processing it. They're just taking it from that storage, putting it in a truck, and bringing it somewhere else.
So they're not doing any crushing operation at all? Okay. So they bring in, they stockpile it, and then they remove it.
As far as I understand, yes.
Okay. Now, you said you talked to Mr. Alex Jacoby, and he's the manager.
Yes.
And as far as you know, he's also overseeing the site or
Yes.
operation?
I thought he was part owner.
Part owner, okay. So when you explain why do they keep ignoring AQMD's notice of violation since 23?
I don't know.
I'm going to ask the witness is not allowed to speculate as to
Speculate on that. Okay.
the facility's motivations.
Okay, so is that an objection?
Thank you.
Yes, I would ask that he not answer a speculation.
So then
question.
we will sustain the objection.
Okay, so you have been there repeated times, and then have you talked personally to the Ms. Jacoby?
Once on the phone, yes.
On the phone, okay. And what did you speak to her about?
About the irrigation system, about the fact that there were complaints in the water and that there was dust leaving in the atmosphere over their property line and had to be, and there'd be a violation issued.
What did she say to you?
We're trying to do it. I don't recall much of it except for we're trying, something like that. But I do, yeah.
There is a condition that they have the sprinkler system. Is that something you discussed with her?
It is something I've discussed with Alex, not her, actually.
With Alex? Okay.
I've actually, we've looked at, they have half of it up. They're like 20 feet of the hoses up, but that's it. They've stopped.
So, and I think you clarified in response to Mr. Palin, perimeter misting, right?
Pardon?
Misting it
Yes.
along the perimeter. Is that what they have up now?
No, they don't have that up yet.
And is that because it's not very clear
Right.
in condition 1 what they have to do, right? If you look at the proposed condition, if you read that condition, capable of watering all areas of the facilities, that could mean the active area where they're dumping.
Yes.
But it does talk about perimeter misting as a perimeter to prevent the dust from leaving the property, does it?
It would do both. I think the misting, the misting around would prevent the dust leaving the property effectively,
Would that be better if it's clarified in the order?
perhaps. But I do like the sprinkler system on top as well, to be honest with you, on the stockpile. I have other aggregate facilities and they also use a sprinkler head and it works pretty well on
So it's
stabilizing the pile.
Sprinkle on the top,
And misting
perimeter
around.
misting,
Yes, sir.
and then active spraying while they're loading and unloading.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And to your knowledge, do you think Ms. Jacoby understands that, or?
I think so. To my knowledge, I
Okay.
think so.
Now, as far as the track out, besides what now, with the trucks coming in and let's say there's a lot of watering going on, the wheels will get dirty, right? So when they track out, did you talk to them about other measures they can use to wash the wheels before it leaves? Because you're going to track out. No, it's a never ending.
Right. I understand. I did not discuss that with them, no.
Is there something
I could. Yes.
okay? So, but to your knowledge, they're not aware of it, or
No, you've brought it up. It's a good point.
okay? Did you suggest, even though it's not required in the rule, that they take a dust class?
No.
No. Okay. All right, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Abraham.
Just a question on Exhibit 3. Is there a reason why that was provided in sepia or like not in color?
No.
I mean, we're trying to look at the dust here and everything is brown on this page and it made it harder. And so just kind of made me wonder if all the others were in color, why this particular one that we did look at together was not provided fully in color.
I do not know that.
Okay,
But I
just
have-
that could feel like, why did we do that? Especially given the conversation here we're having around dust and that particular, you want me to see where dust is in that page. Everything's brown on that page, right?
Yes.
Sorry. As an inspector, do you have any sense of what the cost of your recommendations for them to fall into compliance? Do you have any sense of how much your recommendations cost the small business?
I would think it'd be just a couple $100 actually for hoses. But then there's water costs, which I am not aware of. That
Got
would be
it.
bigger.
Thank you. Just regarding the volume of complaints and notices, we understand from the opening statements the concern that the small business owner has here about being targeted, minority-owned, women-owned business, this, that, and the other. How do you address those issues when you do feel like these are maybe an attack on people? So is the volume consistent with the gravity of the violation and the harm to the public and to the harm to the health of people?
Yes, I think it is. I do understand what she's saying. When I do come, I look at their facility first, and then I will talk to the complainants, and they are there. But there is dust everywhere in that area. And so I believe it is the gravity, they equal each other. The gravity of the complaints and the problem with the dust are equal. They, what's the word?
Given the 6 notices of violation and out of courtesy and knowing this is a small business, and we've seen repeatedly small businesses struggling to figure out our processes and really understand AQMD's roles and what the inspector's here to do, this, that. Is there a reason why not out of courtesy then we would, if it's been requested previously, or you've known that maybe the message is not really being conveyed effectively, why not wait for the owner to show up?
You mean why not wait for the show up?
It
While
sounds
I'm
like she
there,
was en route
I
on a
had
few
no idea.
occasions and you're gone. Okay.
So I had no idea actually that she was on her way. I would have definitely stayed to discuss these because it's education as well.
Got it. And to kind of Miss Verdugo Peralta's point, so when we see, and we've gone for multiple notices of violation, did we ever point the party to what resources AQMD, the small business office, or the ways to make sure they can navigate, like what is this, and then what the subsequent processes will be? I say this also in the context of just seeing that small businesses seem to get trapped in this more than others.
I understand. I did not direct them to our small business office.
Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Carr, just a question. How long has Ms. Jacobo had a license or permit?
She actually has no permits under us. We have no permits with them. But we've been inspecting them for a while.
So essentially, she's the landowner and you have permits with the tenant?
Well, they're not permitted. They have no equipment that needs permitted from AQMD right now. They do have the storage pile, and it's a facility that we have rules that delegate their behavior.
So just help me understand this. So they provide they do a service.
Right.
Their license are permitted under what authority?
Don't know.
Under the city,
Oh, okay.
Okay.
we're
Under
permitted
city.
under the city of Los Angeles.
And
Or
so
they-
in the last, I guess, 6 months, how many complaints have we received? We mean in AQMD?
There've been 28 complaints in total. In the last 6 months, I'm not sure exactly.
And do we know if these individuals are the same person, multiple individuals? Is this anonymous?
There's a couple anonymous and then there's a couple of the same individuals. But there's more than one of the same individuals. So like maybe 3 different specific people and then one anonymous as far as I recall.
All right, thank you, man. No additional questions on our side.
I do have a follow-up unless but
Go right ahead.
Mr. Carr, were there complaints from residents besides the businesses?
I believe they're just complaints from businesses.
Only businesses. Could you bring up the site map, please, Ms. Roberts? So in reference to the map, how far are the residential areas?
I don't know of any residential areas near this, actually. I do know that there's like a lot of business and then businesses over here also complained. I don't want to put that.
So it's, okay, there are no schools?
No schools,
No.
no sensitive receptors nearby.
Okay, all right, thank you.
It's next to the airport.
All right. And she's referencing Van Nuys Airport, obviously, right?
Can I say something, please?
Can I ask
Hold on
that
one second,
she
Ms.
be
Jacobo.
sworn? I don't have any opposition to her testifying next, but can I have
Yeah,
her sworn?
So we were gonna walk down that road. All right, so Ms. Jacobo, it would probably be in your best interest if you would take the oath,
Okay,
right? And then, of course, the comments that you will provide will be testimony.
okay,
Are you agreeable to that?
yes,
Okay, if you stand and raise your right hand.
okay,
All right. Do you affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so I just want to add these comments because, like I said, I had no idea what this is going to be or what was going to be discussed.
Now, hold on, Ms. Jacobo, just, I want to be very
Oh.
clear now.
Okay,
You've accepted the oath. Now you will be cross-examined.
okay,
Petitioner will have an opportunity to question you as well as members of the hearing board. Just want to make sure we're clear with respect to what that exercise entailed as far as the effects or impacts, as it were.
okay.
All right, go right ahead, ma'am.
Okay, so what I just wanted to add to this because James, the clerk of the court, called me this morning and said if I had any exhibits, and I should have brought some pictures, added pictures to this, but I had no clue about this. But we call it the yard, the property where we store the dirt and the concrete, and the yard is halfway empty now, and we're in the process of bringing it down. And so throughout the last 7 years, it goes up and it goes down, but it has mostly stayed down. And so what's happened is that in the last, this year, we just got a lot of extra business. We got a lot of business from the Pasadena fires, where the truck drivers go and haul the dirt and broken concrete. My permit is only for dirt and broken concrete. I don't store any trash or asphalt or drywall or that kind of thing. I'm only allowed to have dirt and concrete. That's what we have. And so in the last 4 months, everything just quadrupled. That's why the mountain is so high. It's never been this high, or the stockpile. And so because we receive so much, we take it out in the evening to the landfill, and we make a profit off of it, obviously. And so that's what's caused it to be so high. But now half of it is gone, And, you know, of course, we want to keep it down. We want to keep it as clean as possible, you know, and like I said at the beginning, you know, that area is zoned for this kind of work, for dirt, for concrete, for body shops, for marble, you know, type of work, for there's another a cabinet maker there which does a lot of dirt and a lot of concrete. And so what I'm always trying to do is keep it as clean as possible and keep the volume down. But because we got all this excess work and it was really great for us, but it caused more problems, you know, because of having to get out as much as possible. But it's, you know, Alex says he hasn't been there since June, and since then we've been cleaning out. We do have the sprinkler system up. The misting system, you know, the neighbors again complained to us, came over there very aggressive and said, you know, now our cars are dirty. So I explained to them, I said, you know, you should have scoped this out before you guys came here with all these very expensive cars, because this is what we're zoned for, you know. And so so the sprinkler system is up. The thing about the watering with the tires, we've done that before. When the trucks come in, we wet their tires and clean them up. But when they leave, it leaves like mud, and then that dries. So it looks worse, you know. And so every night we sweep, every night we clean up. You know, we've offered to clean people's cars, and people just don't do that because they're body shops. They're waiting to get their car fixed, or, you know, these guys, these new guys, the people that have targeted us, you know. Alex mentioned, you know, you asked him, is it residents? There's no residents in that area whatsoever, because if there was residents, we wouldn't be zoned for that. We wouldn't have a permit for that, you know. And so Alex told me on the phone, they said they're going to call me every day, and they've been calling him every day. He stated right now that he hasn't been there since June. So last time that I spoke before I got sick, and I spoke with Miss Roberts, you know, I said to her, I want to make things right. I don't want to have these problems. You know, if I close, what would I do? This has worked for us all these years, and it just so happens that we got all this excess work after the fires, and we looked at it as a benefit. You know, so those violations have been over a period of 2 years. You know, I don't know how many have been this year. You know, I think probably more. Alex has been there, you know, more times this year, but just because the stockpile got so high. But we're investing in cleaning it out as fast as possible. And that's what I want to say.
All right, thank you. So the district will cross-examine you, Ms. Jacobo. Ms. Roberts?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for coming today, Ms. Jacobo. I have a few questions for you. I think you mentioned that in 2025, you got your facility got a little busier and the piles got higher, mostly due to fires. Is that right?
Not due to the fires, due to the work due to the concrete and the dirt that was what's the right word to say? Due to the cleanup. The trucks, drivers had a lot of work, and they bring it all over the San Fernando Valley, whoever will take it. So we were taking as much as we could. And, you know, I show up one day and the stockpile is down, and I show up the next day or the day after that, and it's so high, and I said, we can't have it this high. So I'm constantly, you know, trying to figure out a way to keep it down, but that has stopped now. That has stopped.
And you mentioned you have a permit for this from the city.
Correct.
For your operations, right?
Correct, because these neighbors, if you look at that picture where you see my property and the property next to us, you know, they come in and paint all the buildings black, you know, and they were trying to say that we're not permitted and everything. And I went to the city again just to confirm you know, because they were calling the city every day. The inspectors from the city know me, You know,
Does
that,
your permit, Ms. Jacobo, have a maximum amount of materials that
Yes.
you're allowed on site? What is the
yes,
maximum?
it's, I don't know the exact amount, but I know that we have had it higher than it should be. And that was the reason why, but it's gonna come down now. It's not, we don't have the work that we had before. We're just paying to have truck drivers come and take the concrete and take, there's a lot of people who fill their swimming pools. So we give it
Okay.
away. Yeah.
So, Ms. Jacobo, can you give me an estimate right now in 2025 about how many trucks per day come to your facility?
It varies, Miss Roberts. It was before all this happened, maybe I had 10 or 12 a day. And then once we started receiving the from the cleanup, it was going to maybe 25, which is, in that tight spot, which you could see in that picture, because we're kitty corner. We're kitty corner. So the trucks pull in and they can only go one way. And so all of the disturbance with these neighbors, these specific neighbors, was because they have trucks, they have cars coming in that need to be inspected by insurance companies. These guys are involved with insurance companies, and I don't know what else. They've told us what they're involved with.
So I have let's take that 25 number, the highest number
Yes.
you mentioned. Is that 25 trips just coming to drop off material, or does that
Yes.
also, are there also trucks that pick up material?
No, just Alex loads the trucks and takes the material out in the evenings to the landfills.
Okay, and does he do that in one trip per
No,
day?
no.
How many
He-
trips per day does
Maybe
for the
he does.
leaving
Well,
or
his
taking
trucks,
material out?
he has, I don't know what the name of it is right now. It's just not, I'm not thinking what the type of truck it is that we have, but it'll take it has the capacity to take 4 Super 10s worth of trucks. The trucks that deliver to us are called Super 10s. So before this happened, he was doing, 3 or 4 a night. So then once this happened, he was doing maybe 5, but we were paying another truck to come and help us to empty it. And that's why it got so high.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm getting the numbers right. At least at your highest point, you have 25 trucks coming in. And then you have approximately 25 going in, and then 5 or 6 that are moving material out,
No, maybe 8,
maybe 8,
or sometimes 10. It just depends
8
because
to 10.
it was Alex and another person in their truck.
Okay. And what's your current normal practice for, I think you heard Alex testify a bit about watering. He testified about what the conditions would require you to water for each loading or unloading. Do you
Yeah,
currently do that?
We're watering all the time. We have to water. We're watering all the time. I was trying to think of, when does Alex come that they see him and they run to get the water hose to, protect themselves from, Alex. We're constantly watering, constantly. We have to water.
So
Because
do you staff your facility right now where you have, just one employee whose dedicated job then is to just water trucks or water
Yes.
the material?
That's
Okay.
true.
And that person
He waters and he sweeps.
he waters and sweeps.
Yeah.
Okay. And how frequently would you say you sweep right now?
Right now we're sweeping through the day, like just if like somebody comes and dumps, if like there's a load with a lot of dirt and some of the dirt might fall off, and just to keep the excess out of the driveway. But at night we clean it all out every night, because if there's trucks coming in and out, if there's tow trucks coming in and out, not if, there is tow trucks coming in and out too. All the various neighbors. Like I said, there's 15 businesses there,
Okay.
and the marble guys that bring their marble in and out, and it's zoned for that area. It's zoned for dirt and concrete.
Okay. And so we talked about that volume of trucks is kind of the high, and you mentioned that that's more recently increased significantly. Do you have kind of an estimate of how many trucks would come in, maybe, let's say, last year in 2024 on
Between
average?
10 and 12.
10 to 12?
Yeah, and that what I said was that now it's decreased again to what we were before.
Okay. And in that decreased timeframe in 2024, it was, I think you mentioned 3 to 4 trucks out every day?
Yeah. So in 2023, 2024, there's many times where there was not any piles. There was just small piles, just like, not like the way that it's been in this year.
So do you recall seeing any of the notices of violation before this order for abatement? Do you personally receive any of those?
You know what, Alex had them. I've seen a couple of them. And, and I discuss it with him. But like I said, it could be 3 days where it's just clean. And then a couple of days where, it just depends on how much work the drivers have, the truck drivers. And all of a sudden one day we just have a lot of work. So it's, when you're self-employed, sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's really sad,
So I'm gonna pull up an exhibit, and I want to make sure that you're able to see the screen once I'm sharing it. Are you able to see a big exhibit 3 right now?
Yes.
Okay. This is attached to the petition for the order for abatement. This is a copy of one of the notices of violation. Do you recall
I've seen
seeing this
those.
one?
I don't remember seeing that one, but I've seen them. And
Okay.
I was reviewing them last night.
So do you recall receiving where you see in the kind of second column over, it lists the specific provision that's being cited?
Yeah, greater than 8 feet. Yes, I see it.
Okay. And do you recognize that this is an NOV that was issued in 2024 before you increased the amount of trucks coming to your facility, before the fires?
Right.
And in fact, you're being cited both for a stockpile of greater than 8 feet, but also dust remaining visible in the atmosphere beyond your property line.
Okay, Ms. Roberts, when someone dumps, there's going to be dust. But the dust is not an all-day thing where there's this big cloud of dust over my business. I mean, if you're trying to make a visual of just dust and dirt, no, it's not like that at all. It's not like that at all. That picture that he got, that was a great picture because it was right when somebody dumped, but it's not that way at all constantly.
And Ms. Jacoba, do you recall ever discussing, or have you read it yourself, Rule 403 from the South Coast AQMD?
No, but I will.
So I'm gonna pull it up with you, and I'm hopeful we can kind of go through some of the provisions of it together. This is Rule 403. It's entitled Fugitive Dust. As you can see in Section A, the purpose of it is to kind of reduce what we call particulate matter dust, essentially, from man-made sources. Do you understand Section A of the rule?
Yes, I'm looking at it, yes.
I'm going to scroll down to Section D, and I want to look through some of the things that were cited by the compliance inspectors with you. And I want to start with this Section D, and then there's a sub 1, and then there's an A. That's one of the violations that you've been cited for. Subprovision D is the requirements. And do you see what number 1 says?
I'm looking at 403A. It says the dust remains visible in the atmosphere. That's not true. Whatever it says.
So I'm looking at number 1 right before that on the bottom of page 5. Do you see that where it starts with number 1, where it says no person? Do you see that part of it?
I do see that. But that kind of contradicts the permit that I have that's allowing me to store dirt and concrete.
Does the permit allow you to have fugitive dust that remains visible in the atmosphere beyond your property line?
Honey, I don't know what fugitive means. I can look it up right now. Let's see. I don't know what fugitive means.
Okay, we can start with the definitions. Fugitive dust is actually a defined term in this rule.
Okay, just ask you a question. We're going over this right now so you could school me. or for me to just say, no, I'm doing this, or yes, I'm doing that, or I don't understand what this is about at this point.
So ma'am, my questions are really about you're saying that you don't feel that you've violated the rules. So I
No,
want
no,
to
I never said those words.
understand.
I never said those words, Miss Roberts. I
So you
said,
agree that you
no,
have violated the rules?
no, I'm not gonna say either one of those things to you right now. What I've said is that I'm permitted for dirt and concrete. And that it's very obvious if you're dumping dirt and concrete, there will be some dust. And what I said was that there's not gonna be a big cloud of dust and dirt hanging over my business. That's what I said.
So
Other
Mr.
than
Koval,
that,
I'm
say
gonna move
anything
on
else
to
like that.
my final line of questionings. I do want to put this on the record. I think it's very important. I think the chair asked you that you have had an opportunity to review this findings and decision document that was submitted as Exhibit 1. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you recall, I think you mentioned you and I had discussed this document before. Is that correct?
Briefly, we went over, I have the notes here that I made with you. Just briefly, we talked about the rumble strips yesterday, the hose down, and the sweeping 3 times a day, and the logging, that stuff, just briefly.
Okay. Do you remember we talked specifically about there were a few conditions that if the hearing board were to order this, you would be required to do? Do you recall that?
No.
No.
No, but obviously I would, because I want to make things right, is what the reason I just went ahead and came on today. I want to make things right. I don't want to have a problem with AQMD. I can't control the angry neighbors that moved in there in 2023 that are calling, Alex, every day because my trucks are blocking their Mercedes Benz, their Bentleys, and their Rolls Royces, and they're attacking us. So you have to take into consideration, this started 2023. I didn't have any problems before 2023. And in the beginning of the year, this stuff happened with the fires. I took too much work. I'm getting rid of it. So I'm trying
Mr.
to
Cobo,
make
I think you
right.
mentioned, you said right now you have an irrigation system up and
We
running.
just barely put it up, and now they came over there just screaming at Lucas and cussing at Lucas and saying that it's wetting their cars.
So I have this condition 1 pulled up. Are you able to see that on the screen?
Yes, I can see everything. Yes.
Would you be able to comply with condition 1?
To the best that I can, yes.
Do you
I feel
oppose if the
I feel
hearing
like
board
30
were to?
days, 30 days, because I have to stay afloat. If I just spend my time taking it out, I would have to close down.
So right now, the condition 1 is written that by August 31st, which is the end of next month, you would have to install a fully operational irrigation system. Are you capable of doing that?
Yeah, that part, yes.
And do you oppose if the hearing board were to consider ordering you to do that today? Would you oppose that condition?
No.
Okay. I'm going to ask the same question of condition number 2. Do you see that on the screen?
I'm already doing that.
You're already doing that. So you
Yes.
wouldn't oppose if the hearing board were to consider ordering you to do this, you wouldn't oppose that?
No.
So I'm going to ask the same question for condition number 3.
Okay, on 3, regarding the track out, it's not just, I understood the things that Alex said, and they sound very convincing. But if you're there and you see all the other businesses that are going in and out with trucks and with coming from their properties that have dirt and dust, I've never, like I said to you yesterday, I've never reported anybody. I don't want to make enemies with anybody, because that's what happens. And so all that track out, some of it is from the dirt. It's an obvious thing there's going to be dirt, but it's not piles of dirt. It's just a normal wear and tear type of thing from daily operating.
So is that fair to say that you would oppose if the hearing board were to order condition number 3?
I don't know. I don't want to say yes, I don't know. I have to talk
Okay.
with Alex, I don't know.
Okay. I think those are all of my questions for now. Thank you, Ms. Jacobo.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. Jacobo, so we're gonna move to closing arguments.
I'm sorry, that's a question.
Oh, go right ahead.
Mr. Jacobo, I think you mentioned you have not looked at Rule 403 before.
Right, I did say that.
And since it was presented to you, are you be able to download and read the rule and understand what the rule requirements are?
Give me 1 second. Are you saying for me to do that now?
No.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah,
Of course
okay,
I can
okay.
do that.
So
Yes,
one
sir.
of the requirements, I think you mentioned you're permitted to handle dust and concrete, but what the rule requires is while you're permitted to handle material, you're not permitted to have the dust leave your property. That's what this rule addresses, dust leaving the property and whatever you can do to minimize it.
Right,
Okay, you're aware of that. Okay.
okay.
Now, as far as the condition 1, there was the irrigation system. Do you also, I think you heard Alex say about fence line irrigation. Are you aware of what that is, or is that something you plan to do
I think that's what we put up. It's along the fence.
along the fence? Okay.
Yeah,
And then you also have where the material has been loaded, unloaded, or hose or something
we're
to
watering, correct.
watering that to keep it down. Okay.
Yes.
If now you don't have more than 5 acres, right? I mean, your area is less than
No,
that.
no.
Okay.
No,
Because there are provisions, the rule for track out, where you can install a pad with wash gravel
there's not enough space for that, sir.
or a wheel shaker, wheel spreading that, no.
No, there's
for
not
that.
enough space for that there, because everybody uses that driveway. And there was
Okay.
a lot more space before these guys came in with their 100 cars each property. There's 2 entrance. When you go in and out, there's an exit and entrance in the same spot, and they blocked one of them and just use it like a parking lot. And so this attributes to a lot of this, I keep bringing that up because a lot of this started when they came there and took over the whole driveway, and the city won't do anything about that because it's private property.
So as far as track out, what do you propose to do for your facility? Because as your trucks leave the facility, you're supposed to address track out. So what is your proposal to
Well,
do
we're
that?
cleaning it as best as we can.
Clean the wheels before they leave, is that what?
No, we can't. We've tried to do that before, and then I mentioned, about 5 minutes ago that if we wet the wheels, it makes more mud. And as the trucks roll out, the mud rolls out and then the mud dries.
Correct, okay. But then, so the alternate is you're going to
Clean
wash
it.
and sweep, is that what it is? After the fact, okay. All right, that's all the questions I had, thank you.
Okay, Ms. Verdugo Peralta, and then we're gonna move to closing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Jacobo, has anybody talked to you, and maybe I missed it, about a grading system, a grading device that would be at the exit? And they make them custom to the size of whatever your driveway is when the trucks are leaving?
I have no idea what that is.
Grading, you know what grates are?
It's
metal-
level something, right?
No, they're metal grates and they have different patterns. You'd have to speak to
Yeah, that's like a rumble strip.
I've never heard that term, but
Yeah, it's like a rumble strip, but there's not enough space there because everybody's using that driveway there.
Yeah, well, they make it custom to whatever size you want. You can have it as small as or as large as you want. And that's one device that would help with the tracking out of the material. That's the problem that you're facing, and that's one of the parts of the rule that you have to comply with. I would at the very least investigate that and see how much that would cost, because what I'm hearing from you is you don't understand the rule, and you get a permit. You pay for a permit every year, right? And part of that permit is to know what rules affect you. And these rules affect you, and it's the cost of doing business that you have to comply with these rules and put in the types of devices that have been discussed, like the watering and misting system, as well as doing something more proactive about the tracking out. Because the whole purpose of this is we don't want fugitive dust to be affecting the health of other people. That's the bottom line. And so that's why all these rules are in place. So I want you to be able to understand that and why we're so adamant about it. That's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing.
Thank
Ms.
you,
Roberts.
Mr. Chair. The district today submits that it seems that we have a partially stipulated but partially contested order for abatement. The district would respectfully request the board to issue all of the conditions the district has proposed, even on a contested basis. All three findings in Rule 806A can be made. This facility is in persistent violation of Rule 403. The order for abatement that we are proposing would not constitute a taking without due process. This facility has had notice of this hearing, was able to be fully heard today. And fundamentally, that third finding is really about a balancing. What is the burden that is being put on the facility relative to the benefit? There is significant dust that is accruing harm to these other businesses that we have had to deal with. And what we are proposing, even the ones that are contested, essentially sweeping 3 times a day and having a logbook, is minimally invasive. This is not an overly burdensome requirement, and we do believe it is the easiest way to be effective. So we would requestfully submit that the board should order the Exhibit 1 proposed findings and condition on a contested basis. Thank you.
I just had a follow-up. I don't believe, I thought she agreed to all the conditions. It's not
I asked her
contested.
today and she wasn't willing to say whether she would stipulate to condition 3. So I have to take that as contested and would ask the board to make the findings as a
Yeah.
contested one if she is not willing to stipulate.
And we're a little bit out of order. Ms. Jacobo, the floor is yours.
Say that again? I'm sorry?
Yeah, this is your closing arguments, closing statements. Yeah, this is the conclusion of the hearing, and this is your
I
opportunity.
know, I got that part. I'm thinking about what I want to say.
Very well.
I'm thinking about what I want to say because, I feel like it's been a lot, but I want to say to Ms. Roberts, I understand, or Ms. Verdugo Peralta, I understand about this thing about the dust. I do. I'm not saying I don't understand that. I don't get it. I'm obviously an intelligent person. And my comment was that, I want to do the right thing. I'm going to do the right thing. We're going to clean up. We're going to clean up as much as we can so there's not so much dust, and just the fact that, before 2 years ago, this was never an issue. I've been doing the exact same thing, and I've had a lot of business, and I've had slow times, but when these people moved in, it just became a monster issue, and I'm going to consider going and reporting all the people that have all the dirt and all the dust because I'm like the bad guy here. And I don't want to be that. That's it.
All right, thank you, members of the hearing board.
Yeah, while sympathetic to the business position, they certainly had sufficient notice. They're in violation of the rules. The proposed conditions are not onerous or unreasonable, and indeed, it sounds like the business already trying to do some of those things. So I think that I'd be able to support anyone making a motion that, as stated in Exhibit 1, based on the facts and conclusions in the proposed findings and decision and the testimony today, that we have good cause to issue the order and conditions as proposed.
Yes, I was going to say I too support the good cause to issue the order as proposed. So maybe I misunderstood. I thought Ms. Jacobo was willing to comply with all the conditions that are proposed, and she's aware of it. But and stipulated to them. But even regardless if it's not stipulated, or so we have two findings we have to make: 806A and 806B for the ones that are stipulated, and that those are not stipulated. Regardless, I do find good cause to support the district's proposed order abatement.
Any additional comments? Ms. Verdugo-Peralta?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I also support the good cause for the order of abatement and with all the conditions that have been stated. And I just want to say to Ms. Jacobo that I understand from a small business perspective that it's the rules always, I wanted to explain to you, the rules always been there, even before your neighbors were there. It's just a matter of the inspectors. We can't be everywhere. And so therefore, it just so happened that that is the point when the district inspectors went out there and saw all of these violations. And I understand you've been in business for a while, and before that period of time, however, that rule was always there. And had somebody come by and complained, and or an inspector happened to come by before those people were there, it would, a notice of violation would have been issued at that point. I just want you to understand that. I sympathize with the fact that you are a small business, woman-owned small business. However, regardless of that, you still need to comply with the rules. And I see that you're willing to, and I hope that we can work together with you to help you come into compliance. Thank you.
Thank you. In the matter of gold mine metal recycling facility, item number 182657, case number 6273-1, I move that we find good cause to grant an order of abatement, a stipulated and unstipulated order for abatement as set forth in the proposed findings and decisions exhibit 1. Is there a second to the motion?
Mr. Chair, I think there's both stipulated and unstipulated. So as Ms. Roberts said, there's some conditions that are not stipulated. So we are making a motion to, find good cause for both the stipulated and unstipulated condition pursuant to 806A and 806B.
I just said that.
And you said stipulated.
I said stipulated.
What?
I
Oh, you
said
did
that.
say, oh, okay, I misheard. I'm sorry, my apologies.
Is there a second to the motion? Second. Ali moved it. Dr. Abraham second. Any further question or discussion? Here none. Abraham?
Aye.
Verdugo-Peralta?
Aye.
Balaka Palan?
Aye.
Pearman?
Aye.
Ali votes in the affirmative. The matter is hereby approved unanimously. Thank you very kindly to the individuals present today.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Moving very quickly to
Thank
the
you.
other cases that are before the body. We have two matters that are on consent. First matter being Los Angeles Regional Interoperable Communication System Joint Power Authority, known as LA RICS Authority 6234-1. Petitioners exhibits -6. Petitioners exhibits 4, joint stipulation to place petition for regular variance and waiver of fees on consent calendar. Exhibit number 5, a declaration of Nancy Yang, YANG, in support of LA RICS application for regular variance and waiver of fees. Petition exhibit number 6, proposed findings and decisions in order granting a regular variance and waiver of fees. Hearing board exhibit number 2, email exchange between board member Balaka Palan and parties. Members of the hearing board, are there any questions, comments, deliberation?
Yeah, I'm just going to say that the reason I had the email exchange, and this is what I brought up before, even though it's stipulated and both sides had agreed to it, there was an error in one of the condition, which I get seeing this repeated, even though repeatedly have pointed it out. And I'm almost tempted the next time I see that, I'm going to just say no to the consent. What this, again, I wanted to point out what it is if you're over 200 hours, Rule 18.1 doesn't apply because you've exceeded the 200 hours, but they keep repeating using the template and not checking it So that's the frustration part of it, But other than that, they clearly have exceeded the 200 hours. They do need a regular variance, and I don't see any issue with it. I can support make the 6 findings to grant the regular variance.
Any additional comments? Okay, the motion laid upon the floor in the matter of, hold on a second, let me go to either C. All right, in the matter of Los Angeles Regional Interoperable Communications Systems Authority, case number 6234-6, facility charge number 195568. I move that we grant a regular variance commencing July 30th. And that would go through, I had it right here. December 31st, 2025. Right, from the following rules and subsections, as well as equipment address et al. Contained in petitioner's exhibit 6, which is the findings and decisions and order granting a regular variance as well as waiver of fees. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Dr. Abraham. Any further question or discussion on that motion? Hearing none, roll call. Oh, Abraham,
Aye.
Verdugo Prata,
Aye.
Balaka Palan,
Aye.
Pierman.
Aye.
Ali votes in the affirmative. The matter is hereby approved unanimously. Next case, Los Angeles Regional Inoperable Communications Systems Joint Powers Authority, LA RICS Authority 6234-7. 3 petitioner exhibits. 4 joint stipulation to place regular variance and waiver of fees on consent calendar. 5 is the declaration of Nancy Yang, YANG, in support of LA RICS application for regular variance and waiver of fees. And then 6 is a proposed findings and decisions and order granting the regular variance as well as waiver of fees. Questions, discussions, deliberation?
I think this, here, however, they have not exceeded the 200 hours. They're at currently 178.5 hours. So the PSPS hours is applicable. They can still subtract it from the two, it doesn't add to the 200 hours. So, we had given an interim variance, variance before, and I can support making the 6 findings for the regular variance as proposed.
Any additional comments? All right. In the matter of Los Angeles Regional Inoperable Communication Systems Authority, case number 6234-7, facility ID number 195322, I move that we grant a regular variance commencing July 30th, 2025 through December 31st, 2025. From the following rules, as well as equipment operation, equipment permit numbers, etc., location, et al., located within petitioner's exhibit 6, which is the proposed findings and decisions and order granting a regular variance and waiver of fees. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
By Dr. Abraham. Any further question or discussion on that motion? Hearing none, Dr. Abraham,
Aye.
Ms. Verdugo Peralta,
Aye.
Mr. Balaka Palan,
Aye.
Mr. Furman,
Aye.
Ali votes in the affirmative. We're done for the day and off the record at 11:19 and adjourned.
See you tomorrow.